It's a great day at SwissWatchExpo. I'm Tim, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere. So today we're going to talk about two GMTs. They're going to tell us that it's actually 5 o'clock somewhere. So the GMT complication was something that was introduced back in the 1950s, actually in 1954, because more and more people were traveling, going abroad and also traveling for business. So in 1954, Rolex collaborated with Pan American Airlines and created the first GMT. Now, it was made for pilots because they needed to know, of course, their different time zones and so forth. But in the 1960s, more and more companies started producing a GMT. And they did it for people who were traveling, who were business travelers, military personnel, and so forth. So needing the ability to see what time it was back home when they left, and also the time where they were at currently, was very important to them. Now, in today's world, we do see the popularity of the GMT is stronger than ever. And we're going to introduce two of these timepieces, or show you two of these timepieces that really showcase these complications for the GMT, for the Explorer 2, and for the 600-meter Omega Planet Ocean. So, starting with the Rolex Explorer 2, this particular model is the reference 216570. Now, the piece was originally supposed to be released in 2010, but there was a year delay, and unfortunately, Tudor actually beat them to the punch with their throwback. Now, when it did finally come out, they did some pretty major changes to the sports models themselves, making it 42 millimeter in size. Also, you have what's called like the floating ghost hands. So it looks as though whenever the hands in the hour hand moves, it looks like they're floating. A lot of Rolex connoisseurs were not true fans of this design. Now, as of late, this has been one of the most popular timepieces to put into their collection. Well, another unique thing about this piece is you have a fixed 24-hour bezel, and we'll get into that in just a second, but you'll also see on here you have the orange GMT hand. Now, this was a throwback to the original Explorer timepiece. Now, when you're looking at the timepiece, this allows you to do a couple of things. The reason for the Explorer's creation was for people who are explorers that were in situations that they didn't know, they couldn't see the differences between night and day because they were in an environment that was maybe dark for 6 months or light for 6 months, like if you were a pole explorer. It was also used for spelunkers. So if you're down in the cave and you're in there for a few days, you didn't know if it was AM or PM. So this wonderful 24-hour bezel, if set locally, would be able to give you a military time knowing if it's AM or PM. Now, with this, they also gave you the ability to change the GMT hand to match up to a different time zone, which made it a great timepiece that would be used for travelers, for anyone who is on vacation and so forth. So not only was it made for explorers, but made for anybody who just did a lot of traveling. We bounced this over to the 600-meter Planet Ocean GMT. And what's beautiful about this piece is you have a black and white ceramic bi-directional bezel and a black ceramic dial. This really makes the broad arrow design of the hour hand and the minute hand really come to life. Beautiful stainless steel, 316L stainless steel timepiece, so very durable. Also, it is considered a dive watch, even though it is a bidirectional, because you do have the helium escape valve on the piece, plus the pearl marker on the bidirectional bezel. Now, the movement on the timepiece is an 8906, which is a master chronometer moving, so it's going to be accurate -0, +5, and completely anti-magnetic to 15,000 Gauss. So truly a tool watch to the core. Now, when you're talking about a bidirectional bezel versus a fixed bezel with the Explorer, you have the ability to do 3 time zones. As long as you set the 2 time zones and keep the local time to the Greenwich Mean Time, this allows you to give the 3 time zones. Another great feature about the Omega is it has what's called a time zone function, and it allows you to change the hour hand to go back and forth if you're traveling. Let's say you're going to a meeting and you're starting in Atlanta and you want to go to Chicago. You can actually bounce back the hour hand 1 hour, and it allows you to see the time zone at that local area and bounce back easily to the Eastern Standard Time, and you don't lose any time because your second hand doesn't stop. Now, going back to the bidirectional bezel, if you wanted to use it as a timer, you could. You would actually take the bezel and rotate it to the minute hand itself. And now you're able to see a 15-minute, 30-minute, and 45-minute marker for an approximate timekeeping to the minutes or the seconds. And bringing it back here, there's one more thing I want to show you about a GMT that actually goes along with both sides. You can use these as a compass. People don't realize you can use this as a compass. So if you're out there and it is 5 o'clock somewhere and you're trying to find that special place that you can get your cocktails and you're lost, you can do it with this watch. So what you would do is you would take the watch outside. You would set the hour hand to the local time, and you'd set the GMT time to the 24-hour time. You would take the watch and you would point the hour hand of the timepiece toward the sun. You would then look at the direction of the arrow where the GMT is pointed to, and that would be north. So you'll always be able to find your way north. If you would like to add one of these GMTs to your collection or add a GMT to your collection, contact us at SwissWatchExpo.com.